It's good to see you again. Language is said to be the key to the heart of the people. And if we lose the key, then we lose the very essence of the people. Tonight we'll talk about the nation's endangered languages. Nigeria is one of the most language populated countries in Africa, with at least 520 languages spoken in 250 ethnic groups and tribes. 10 of them are said to have been extinct, while 27 are currently endangered. Experts think that the richness of languages spoken in the country started to decline when the nation gained independence and English accepted as the official language used for all transactions, procedures, and education. Although some of these languages are currently being taught in some schools as subjects, the challenge is in getting people to actually use them on the streets and neighborhoods. In other schools, vernacular is prohibited. A recent report indicated that on the average, 25% of young persons between the ages of 15 and 25 cannot speak their parents' languages. Lack of parental guidance, overbearing influence of Western culture, absence of preservation mechanism, and raising of children in the diaspora are pointed as major reasons for Nigeria's dwindling language diversity. Tonight we'll articulate and dissect all the causative factors and profile possible ways of saving Nigeria's local languages from extinction when I engage our guest, Professor Adenike Akinjobi, a professor of English and Linguistics, University of Ibadan, in a conversation that will come in the course of the program. My name is Kirian Umayo. You are in the right place, the Weekend 5 platform, where the news comes first. And the news beat, misinformation and perception in some quarters on the position of the present administration and the ongoing recovery from the U.S. of Abuja loot has become worrisome. And there is need to keep the record straight. A presidency source confirms that the administration is currently talking to U.S. government on the return of the 3 tranches of the Abuja loot. First is the $308 million, which have been agreed upon. There is also $100 million yet to be resolved, which the Obasanjo administration ceded to Senator Abubakar Bagudu, an agreement that is being litigated because the U.S. government does not recognize the Obasanjo-Bagudu settlement. Then there is a third tranche of $60 million, which is also subject to private litigation by the Abacha family. Claims that the Buhari administration is planning to pay $100 million to Bagudu from the $308 million on the home stretch are absolutely untrue. That money being paid to the Nigerian Sovereign Investment Authority is going into the funding of ongoing work on Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, the second Niger Bridge, and the Abuja-Kano Expressway. The statement is from the presidency added. Now to other news, voting and counting of ballots have ended across Togo in the 2020 presidential election of that country. Musbau Dan Wahab, who is covering the election in Lome, reports that the atmosphere across the capital of Togo is getting charged, just as the head of ECOWAS election observation mission to Togo and former president of Sierra Leone, Ernest Koroma, who monitored the process in Lome, commended the key players for their conduct in the process. Incumbent President for Nasimbwe is contesting for the 4th term against 6 other candidates. The Air Task Force of Operation Lafia Dole Rattlesnake 3 are yielding results against terrorist elements in the northeast of the country. Latest of these were attacks conducted at Jibilaram and Aliwa in the northern part of Borno State, where some key Islamic State of West Africa province ISWAP leaders were neutralized as they assembled for meetings at the 2 locations. The NAF, operating in concert with surface forces, has sustained its air campaign to shape the battle space in the northeast for the effective conduct of further ground and air operations. Now, the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development has begun the process of overhauling the National Social Investment Program to ensure transparency and effective application of resources. This overhauling is expected to ensure that the massive resources which the present administration is channeling get to the most vulnerable groups instead of ending in the hands of middlemen. The ministry is therefore appealing for the cooperation of all stakeholders to discharge on this important national assignment, and this exercise will not in any way affect the smooth delivery of humanitarian services by the ministry. Again, the federal government has commenced work on improving availability and sustainability of electricity distribution in the country. This is by the replacement of the 132 kVA double circuit transmission aluminum conductors across the country. Tunde Saiki reports that the Ikeja West Transmission Substation Lagos was the takeoff of the project.
The Ikeja West Alimosho Ogba Alausa and Ogba Ota T of 132 kVA double circuit transmission line was constructed several years ago, so also several other transmission lines in the country. With urbanization and increased power consumption in Nigeria, the need to upgrade facilities become imperative to meet the people's need. One of such is the reconducting and rehabilitation of the 132 kVA of the Ikeja West transmission line.
For changing those old wires to a new wire they call gap conductor that can carry 2.5 times the capacity of the current wire that you see, and can withstand temperature higher than the current wire. It can withstand up to 210 degrees centigrade.
The Lagos State Commissioner for Energy and Mineral Resources said the state will continue to support and do everything that will assist TCN to complete the job in good time.
The right of way for the transmission line was acquired by TCN and granted to them by Lagos State many years ago. Lagos State will work with the people, Lagosians who are currently there, and TCN to ensure that there is as minimum disruption as possible to the effort that's going on.
Management of TCN, however, assured Nigerians that the line with previous capacity of 200 megawatts will be increased to 750 megawatts as 7 power transformers will be installed and energized at the end of the exercise. In Lagos, Tunde Saiki, NTA News.
In another development, the federal government is doing much to see that no Nigerian will be left jobless or suffer as National Directorate of Employment embarks on new strategies towards providing job opportunities at grassroots level. Correspondent Aliyu Rabe Aliyu reports that some of the NDE's initiatives have started contributing to the economy under Special Public Works flagged up in Damboa in Borno State.
The government, through National Directorate of Employment, introduced Special Public Works (SPW), where 40,000 transient jobs will be created in 8 selected states. Damboa local government of Borno State is the first place to start benefiting the program, as 1,000 beneficiaries were provided with equipment for transient of farm season jobs, and they will be fed 20,000 naira monthly for the period of 3 months.
The fact that we are straightforward in terms of what we are doing, whatever we said we'll do, we'll definitely do it. And that's the reason why a lot of people are coming to us, even those that we did not expect.
Among the new initiatives by ND toward actualizing the tax is women empowerment across the 36 states and Abuja through micro-enterprises enhancement scheme, which aims at generating income for sustainable livelihood and self-reliance. The management of ND believe that creating jobs at grassroots level is the main goal for the directorate in their 2020, which can enhance rural development and also way forward toward discouraging mass movement of people to urban areas.
Issue of armed robbery, Boko Haram, banditry and all other social biases you see in this country is because of unemployment.
Most of the NDE's beneficiaries believe that skill acquisition is most beneficial that can improve the status of youth and the society. In Abuja, Aliyu Rabe Aliyu, NTA News.
With membership covering all the 774 local government areas across the country. The National Council for Women's Societies is leveraging on opportunities provided by the National Directorate of Employment, NDE, to advance the cause of women. Nigeria Fine Face reports that conversations on modalities for achieving this target was central in a meeting between the National Council for Women's Societies and the NDE.
Let's blow your trumpet. La, 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 la.
Women blowing their trumpets, calling attention to what they consider a critical need of society, empowerment of women and girls. United under one umbrella, National Council for Women's Societies, these women believe that
many of our women possess strong life skills which they can impart to the younger generation in your entrepreneurial enhancement training.
And what amazed me was the number of the women that actually did turn up and learned new skills which they've used to empower themselves and enrich their family.
I'm assuring you, we'll definitely enter into a collaboration and see how we can move forward. With due apology to men.
With National Directorate of Employment also affirming the commitment of women to self-development, one can only wait to hear new tunes of collaboration. In Abuja, on Nigeria Fine Face, NTA News.
When credible societal values are inculcated into children at their formative years, the gains endure all through their childhood into adulthood. This way, the future is secured and social vices are kept at bay. This is the prompt for a summit organized by the Women's Wing of the Islamic Brotherhood of Nigeria, ISBON, in Cairo, on the outskirts of Abuja. Kolo Mohammed was there for NTA News.
By the adage that the hand that rocks the cradle rolls the world. This speaks to the influence that a mother has on her children.
Women have been playing leading role.
Speakers at the summit believe that as a first caregiver and number one teacher, the mother has a lot to do with nation building.
A country that wants peace must always encourage women to be very, very optimistic in whatever they do.
No matter how rich you are, if your children are not worth being proud of, you have not achieved anything. We chase money. You can even see women. How can I imagine myself if I'm working in an office and I've been handcuffed and I stole money? What do I tell my child when I'm supposed to tell him not to steal pencil, not to steal biro?
Participants at the summit are optimistic that it is possible to have a society with the trappings of peace, progress, togetherness, and nation building.
We are encouraging mothers to try as much as possible to give the right values to their children.
They advise that to secure the nation's tomorrow, women and children must, however, be sufficiently catered for. Kolo Mohammed, NTA News.
President Muhammadu Buhari has tasked graduates of Nigerian universities to build a formidable force against corruption using their newly acquired educational prowess for the betterment of the country. This is contained in the president's message delivered at the 5th convocation ceremony of the Federal University of Dutse by the Executive Secretary of the National University Commission, Professor Adamu Abubakar Rashid. Muhammad Musa Askira reports.
Concerned by the current atmosphere in the country created by the tripartite problems of corruption, climate change and terrorism, President Muhammadu Buhari urges the newly turned out graduates to use their education for positive change for the benefits of humanity.
It is gratifying to note that the peaceful academic milieu maintained in this university have admirably impacted the stable academic calendar and the immediate host community in many ways.
All the necessary support that will help the university to achieve its safe targets.
The Vice-Chancellor of the University, Professor Fatima Batul Mukhtar, is confident that the graduates tuned out of the university are going to generate impact in various sectors of the nation's economy.
A total of 786 undergraduate students from various faculties have passed out with different classes of degrees in 19 different programs in the university. Out of this number, 52 have made first-class honors degree, 291 with second-class upper division, 338 with second-class lower division. In addition to this, the university has also graduated 162 postgraduate students. Federal University Dutse is one of the 12 federal universities established across Nigeria in 2011 to decongest the existing nation's universities and create an enabling environment for quality learning in the country. From Dutse, Muhammad Musa Askira, NTA News.
Well, you are watching a weekend file on the network service of the NTA. There's no gainsaying the fact that linguistic diversity is essential for sustainable development of any nation. But researchers in Nigeria are saying that some Nigerian languages are on the endangerment list. And of course, tonight we have as our guest Professor Adenike Akinjobi. She is of the University of Ibadan. You will learn more in our correspondence report, and that's next.
So, you now want to pick my call?
Then bomb me where? Mommy of life. Final, mommy.
Where my car?
Mommy, now smart things remain.
If my car not ready for tomorrow, me and you go put leg inside one trouser. One lie.
That's my phone. Yes, ma. Yes, ma. Yes, ma.
Not got this phone, no.
All right, yes, ma. Hey, my girl. Mommy, no be you. Don't waste your credit. When I finish, I go call.
You call me. Me wear my middle name na credit. Where Glow they give me boku.
Glow and Mebo. Get 5 times your recharge to call all networks. Recharge with *555* *PIN#.
Just talk people. I beg, give me my phone, make I go, Joe.
Talon so talk yen.
Following recurring incidences of traffic violations resulting in multiple accidents, the FCT administration wishes to inform the residents of the FCT that starting Monday, 17th February 2020, all traffic violators, irrespective of status or office, will be prosecuted on the spot by the FCT mobile court, and they will be named and shamed on television and newspapers. Residents of the FCT are enjoined to be law-abiding always. Let's together build the FCT of our dreams. Sir Christian Chinyaka, Oha, Permanent Secretary, Announcer.
The general public is hereby invited to the 76th birthday and retirement party of His Eminence, John Cardinal Onaikon, CON. Date, 24th February 2020. Venue, the Galleria, Chida Event Center. Time, 6 p.m. Chairman of the occasion, Professor Maxwell Gidadu, SAN, Chief of Staff to the Governor, Adamawa State. Special guest of honor and Father of the Day, Archbishop Felix Alaba Job, Archbishop Emeritus of Ibadan. Chief Host, Archbishop Ignatius Ayahu Keigema, Archbishop of Abuja. Host, Sir and Lady Gabriel Agada. Chairman and CEO, Chida International Hotel. This event is strictly by invitation.
It is morning, a new beginning. As you prepare everyone for the day ahead, just anything is not enough. Only you make breakfast special, creamy, tasty, with vitamins and nutrients we need for a delightful, healthy start.
So start your day right with Hollandia Evap.
Hollandia.
Coming on April 2nd, 2020, in the capital city of Abuja, the Ivory 8 Ball, a life-saving fundraising event featuring music and arts in aid of skin cancer patients with albinism. For participation and sponsorship, call Edidiong on 070-197-73352 or Chinwe on 090-559-61514. This event is powered by Nigerian Television Authority, TV Enterprises, Federal Radio Corporation of Nigeria, FRCN, African Independent Television, and Ray Power FM, Silverbird Television, and Rhythm FM, the Albino Foundation, the Ivory 8 Ball, for a worthy cause. Watch out.
Your
Information dey important, just like your identity. Na the only way we fit take hala you o. Make you go browse easy.gotvafrica.com. Sign in with your IUC number and mobile number and scroll down to personal details and address. Then check well to see say everything bam. You fit change the one wey not correct. To finish everything, just click the save button and it don't finish.
Thank you. I make sure say my phone number dey correct. That's not why GoTV fit call me make I come collect my own awoof.
Angel, time for my phone in that way because now my correct phone number dey for book.
GoTV, live it, love it.
Don't look me again, no. Make you go do your own.
Thank you for staying with us. Preservation of culture is important because it is the identity of a people. As a way of preserving Yoruba language in Lagos State, the government made it a compulsory subject in primary and secondary schools with strong sanctions for defaulters. How has this move contributed to strengthening Yoruba language as a subject of study in primary and secondary schools compared to 30 years ago? Hengino John Adams seeks answers to this question and more in this report.
United Nations Education, Scientific and Cultural Organization UNESCO recently reported that over 300 African languages are endangered and more than 52 have gone into extinction, with 27 from Nigeria. To promote and preserve Yoruba language in Lagos State, the government in 2018 enacted the Yoruba Language Preservation and Promotion Law, mandating primary and post-primary schools to use the language for all teaching and learning activities.
There's a particular day, I think Wednesday, when the only language spoken in our schools is Yoruba. And apart from that, in our primary schools, they also have centers that they go to for Yoruba immersion.
What the policy stipulates or states is that for the first 3 years of a child in the primary school, the medium of instruction for all subjects except English language should be the language of the immediate environment.
They teach us Yoruba in school, and when we come home also, we communicate with our parents with it.
I'm not Yoruba, and they teach Yoruba in my school. Why is Yoruba come?
The government further translated the national anthem into Yoruba language to enable students learn and render it daily during assembly. Has the move helped to promote speaking of the language, especially among youths, compared to the situation 3 decades ago? And how can it be further encouraged?
In those days, you see that at the lower elementary school, you are being taught with Yoruba language. But these days, you will see a child of ECCDE. What they just be teaching them is English.
The moment you teach children in their mother language, they will quickly understand whatever we are teaching them.
To complement this effort, parents need to encourage communication in local dialect at home, which will serve as cultural resurgence. In Lagos, Hengino John Adams, NTA News.
Now, globalization is gradually taking its toll, as we've all agreed, on indigenous language of the people who, by chance or providence, are living together in a community with their distinct identity. Kano, one of such communities with different and diverse ethnic nationalities, is not left out in this global threat, as some of these tribes are almost going into extinction in terms of their languages. Fatima Sanusi Karaye reports.
My name is Narain and I love my culture. Today I've been learning 2 Hausa words like I do every single day. Today I've learned Farah and Farah.
10-year-old Narain Shehu trying hard to keep his heritage, picking on his words with difficulty but with pride, although his identity slowly slipping away. The cosmopolitan nature of Kano and poor preservation of historical artifacts by different tribes residing in the state are some of the factors responsible for language assimilation.
And sometimes my parents speak the language to us, but we don't respond. We respond with English. But that was how we were raised.
In Hausa, but only at Tinsibe. I also try to learn new words every day, and I'm going to continue that because I find it important to learn more about my culture.
Not being able to speak in your local dialect is not a peculiar issue. I am Fulani by origin, but I cannot speak full day. I pick my words. So you can imagine what I teach my children, missing out on our heritage.
Survey shows that language extinction is largely due to lack of written and oral literature. However, homes are striving hard to ensure that their children have a solid grip of their heritage, as language is identified as massive and inclusive art that defines communities as a people.
It is very good to teach our children our local dialect.
I do speak to them in Hausa every day, though they do reply me in English.
Although academic environment encourages the use of foreign language against local dialect, Bayero University Kano is coming up with a work plan of using indigenous language in academic setting.
One of the way in which that a language can be revived and maintained, it should be transferred to the younger generation.
Linguists and historians will have to take a new approach to rescue the situation so that the likes of Nurain will have something someday to teach their children. In Kano, Fatima Sanusi Karaye for Weekend Fire.
Thank you, Fatima. And now let's bring in our guest for tonight, Professor Adenike Akinjebi, Professor of English and Linguistics. She's reaching us from our Ibadan Network studios. Prof, good evening and welcome to Weekend File. All right, I'm glad you can hear me clearly. Now, let's start this way. The global community recently marked the International Day of the Mother Tongue. Of what significance is such a day to the ethnically diverse global community?
It's a very symbolic day because the more we get conscious of the fact that we must not lose our local languages, the better for us. Because your language is a means of identity for you. Your language is part of your culture. And if you leave your language, if you lose your language, you are definitely losing a very significant part of your life. And so it is really a very good development.
All right, Professor Akinjebu, Nigerians didn't feel that. I mean, it didn't make impact in Nigeria. What was supposed to be the reason why we didn't feel the impact of that celebration?
I think, well, it depends on, because I know that there are places where if you go online on social media, you would have seen people in schools celebrating this day in Yoruba. It was called Ashade. And we found schools where both pupils and their teachers dress in the native language, in the native attires, and they try to speak the language throughout the day. But I think we should do more. We should take all these things even to the streets. Until we are able to take this to the streets, we are not really doing the right thing. We should take it to the homes such that every day, not a particular day, every day parents would know that the indigenous language is an important part of the child's life. And so we should encourage it. And so when we even have this kind of celebration, it should not only be restricted to the schools, because if you go to social media, I was on Facebook and I saw many schools celebrating this occasion, which is very nice. But the idea is, after this celebration, what do they do after? What comes next? And then how deep is the feeling that we really need to go back to using our indigenous languages really, really adequately?
All right. Some researchers in this country have made it clear that some Nigerian languages are going extinct. As a matter of fact, they said that 27 of them are in the danger list at the moment, while 10 had already gone. Right. And there are so many reasons for that. And let us share your own opinion with respect to what are the major reasons for this. Where did we get it wrong? When did we really get it wrong?
I think the report of 27 endangered languages and about 10 getting extinct is actually a UNESCO report. And the problem is not only a Nigerian problem, it's an international problem, it's a world problem. Because even the United Nations has reported that every other week, one language is going into extinction in the world. And so now, coming back to Nigeria, where have we got it wrong? I think basically it's because of our history, where we're coming from. The idea was English has had so many roles to play in the past. And the most important role, which I'll look at from the perspective, I won't call it negative, but I think the most important role that must have really affected us is the elitist part of it. The belief that when you speak good English, it makes you stand out from the rest of them or from others. And so in a way, people have come to that realization that, or to that belief, and then you go to places and you see people say things like, sorry, I will not be able to speak in my dialect or in my language, and so I'm going to speak English, so you have to try and pardon me. And then you're wondering, if you grow up in Nigeria, there is no reason why you should make that kind of statement. So we got it wrong, I think, from the beginning, but I wouldn't say it was a deliberate thing. It was systematic. It came on little by little till we are where we are today. It came on from the fact that, if you go back in history, when we needed translators, and then people who were close to the missionaries were the ones that were really seen as being important. And then people started going to school and learning English. And then the idea of calling the local languages vernacular, and people even having to pay because they spoke their own indigenous languages. These were things happening in the past. But then, up to now, it continued because of the roles that English play in Nigeria. We all know that it's the language of education, it's the language of politics, it's the language we use in offices, it's the language, basically everything we do. And then it's that language that connects all of us. Because in Nigeria, it's been attested that we have between 250 and 550 languages. That's a large number. And if you have that, and they need to connect and talk, English has given us that opportunity. And unfortunately, we don't have a national language. And we are not making any effort towards picking any of these languages as the national language. Of course, we know the implications. It's going to cause a lot of issues too. And so that is why, these are the reasons actually why we're where we are today. It's a slow process, but then it got to a point that people disregarded, basically forgot that they had indigenous languages. And then children will go to school and they'll be compelled to speak English and not speak their indigenous languages. And so how are the children supposed to even think it's a thing of value to them when they are made to believe that indigenous languages are not, they're not supposed to be spoken because they are vernacular? And so these are part of the reasons why we are where we are today.
Now, let's talk about preservation mechanism between policymakers and the communities. Who should be responsible for the preservation of languages that are, of course, facing the threat of extinction at the moment?
We all have roles to play. We all have roles to play, the policymakers and the people. But I would say the policymakers, because the basic problem is with the language policy that we don't really have. So the policymakers have, and we know that most of the things that we do, they are based on the policies that are made. And so if we don't have language policy that is effective, there is no way people will take the idea of the indigenous languages seriously. If students are still expected to pass English and they're not queried about not passing the indigenous languages, if House of Assemblies are given the option to probably use English most of the time and only use the indigenous languages only once in a while, if all these things persist, and if we continue not to have an academy, a language academy that will moderate our languages in Nigeria, then definitely the policy makers would have to do something about this. And then let me come to the people. The people. Now, even right from the home, if I don't speak my indigenous language to my son or to my daughter, how is she supposed to get it? Because the home is the first place. And so we need our parents, our guardians, to take this very seriously. That we need, it does not mean, the problem we have is we think when children speak indigenous languages, they will not be good in English. Unfortunately, that's not the situation. You can make them speak, you can make them learn even more than 2 languages the same time and they will be okay. It's only going to open more opportunities to them. And so what I think is parents too should try as much as possible to help build our indigenous languages by speaking them to their children at home. So I think that's there. And then the schools too will have to help us and stop calling calling our local languages vernacular, or making it impossible for these pupils to communicate in the local languages, especially the private schools. All this should be done. If you are able to do this, we'll then have a balance between the responsibility of the policymakers and the responsibility of the people themselves.
All right, thank you, Professor Akinjobi. We're going to pause you at the moment, but we'll come back to you in the course of the program. But the takeaway from what you've just said is the fact that we have no language policy. Thank you indeed. We'll be back to you. All right, now, non-availability of trained Igbo teachers and teaching materials, as well as the negative attitude of some parents towards their children, have been identified as some problems bedeviling the teaching and learning of Igbo language among secondary school students in Enugu State. Chinyere Okoye tells us more about it.
These are little school children singing the Nigerian national anthem in Igbo language, and key players believe that if they are encouraged to speak and learn the language, it will never go into extinction. Igbo, which is the language spoken in the southeastern part of Nigeria, is one of the 3 major Nigerian languages, and it is the means by which Igbo culture and traditions are conveyed. However, research has shown that the language is now being hit by the threat of extinction, especially with the influence of globalization and westernization. In Enugu State, Igbo as a subject of study is optional in most secondary schools, and the number of trained Igbo teachers are on the decrease. And this, key players say, is a big problem facing Igbo language in the state.
Federal and state government to make indigenous language compulsory.
We have to get good teachers who know how to motivate these children.
If we don't get them to appreciate where they are coming from, their roots, then we will lose them. English language is good, but first of all, the first language you teach the baby is Igbo language.
Language is said to be people's identity and a means by which culture and traditions can be conveyed. It is, however, the views of many that there is urgent need to revive Igbo language so that it does not go into extinction. In Enugu, Chineye Nwoye, NTN News.
Inferiority complex, parental and environmental influences, as well as government policies are major threats to indigenous languages in Akwa Ibom State. Linguistic expert says if these issues are not addressed through reviving some positive cultural practices, then indigenous languages in the state may soon be extinct. Medion Umo reports.
This seeks to portray the uniqueness and relevance of an indigenous language in the society. Aside from the cultural attires that depicts an individual's identity, mother tongue also defines an individual and his identity. In Akwa Ibom State, there are various languages, and these include Ibibio, Anang, Oro, Itumbunuso, and Istinobolo, with Anang and Ibibio being the major languages.
Sometimes I find myself in the midst of people that don't even hear my own language, and I still speak. I let them know that I am proud of my language.
The mother tongue, we use it in the class, but not often.
I have children who go to nursery school. They teach them English in school. So I speak English with them, and I also speak Itumbunuso with them.
However, to promote the awareness of languages and cultural diversity, the Akwa Ibom State government has incorporated only Ibibio language in the curriculum of primary and secondary schools. This could be why experts blame gradual extinction of some indigenous languages on government policies.
Now, if you say I should learn Ibibio, I should learn Anang. An emphasis is on a credit in English, and nothing is attached to the mother language. Nothing is attached to the mother tongue. Nothing is attached. That's incentive. What will make your child to be encouraged to speak the language?
The laws of Akwa Ibom State written in English is interpreted in English. Even in the court, everywhere is read it. Even the traditional rulers' law, the ones we have, is written in English. Government should, in a way, when these laws are out, you do it like some Bibles. I used to see some Bible. This portion, this section will be English. This section should be Bibio.
The Nigerian Television Authority, UYO, has not failed in this aspect, as it includes translation in every local news bulletin. In UYO, Medion Umo, NTA News.
Now, Adamawa is said to have the highest number of local languages in the country, but how well are these languages spoken? Bikisu Abubakar, who spoke to some respondents, reports that most of the local languages are no longer in existence.
Behind me is the entrance of the ancient city of Ola, the Adamawa state capital. The state that has over 50 indigenous languages. Aziza, yes? Please, can you tell me your indigenous language? Fulani. You are Fulani. Can you speak Fulfulde fluently? Yes. Okay, let me just talk to you in Fulfulde language. Okay. Aziza,
I'm going back to Sari.
Okay, you are going back home.
Yes.
And then you are mixing Fulfulde with English. Does that mean it's very difficult for you to speak Fulfulde fluently?
No, as like I both used to mix both English and Fulfulde and also Hausari. Mini Hausa, yes.
From all indication, it's very difficult for Aziza to speak Fulfulde fluently.
My tribe is Kilba. I can't speak Kilba because I'm not used to it.
The major languages in Adamawa comprising Fulfulde, Bere, Machama, Mata, Lunguda, Kilba, Chamba, Kanakuru, Bura, Fali, Njani, among others. However, these languages are not being regarded even in social gathering, as most of the custodians prefer to speak either Hausa or English languages.
One language in Adamawa that is people of Holma is to speak in the part of local government called Maiha. For now, it has been agreed that language has gone into extinction.
Instead of the educationists to introduce the indigenous languages in our primary schools, but certainly in the near future, we will only speak one language in the maximum, and that is English.
At the entrance gate of Ola, it is boldly written in Fulfulde language, Jangen, Duren, Demen, meaning read
rear, and farm. This is to show any person how important this language is to this community.
Therefore, it is expected on parents to remain alive in ensuring that their children can speak and understand their local language since childhood for next generation to be proud of their indigenous languages anywhere they find themselves. In Yola, Bilkisu Abubakar, NTN News.
Bilkisu, thank you for that report. We appreciate that. Now, we take a short break. When we come back, we will return to Ibadan, where we will continue our conversation with Professor Kinjobi. Don't go away.
Breakfast your day. Every day.
Nestle, good food, good life.
That channel where you watch just now don't waka. No panic.
There's me no panic.
You go do it by yourself like ABC. Oh yeah, press the menu button on top your remote. Scroll up and down till you see Information Central. Then press OK.
Press OK.
Check the signal strength and quality. If the signal strength and quality pass 70, make you press the exit button, go back. Go advanced options, then choose installation, then go to reset and press OK.
Press OK. Wow, now you fit catch all those channels with be one miss road by yourself. Yes, make your groove for no loss. You see as I do, Abi? And I see as I do,
Go TV, live it, love it.
And I see as we do,
Not so fast. Look, I'm tired. I want to check out of this country for greener pastures.
Just calm down for a moment. Please sit down.
Do you have a job where you're going to? No, but someone is arranging,
Listen, Alinko. Checking out of this country without proper planning means one thing. Unimaginable begin. You know, I've been in the diaspora, but legitimately doing great things at home and abroad. As I've been saying, without the proper footing abroad, the risk is not worth it. Listen, Alinko, it's better to be home than be trapped abroad or even end up in prison.
And you're welcome back. And let's go straight to Ibadan, where Professor Adenike Kinjobi is still waiting. Prof, you know, in your last remarks, you talked about language policy. What do you mean by that? And is it possible to have a language policy in a multilingual nation such as ours?
Yes, I think it might be a bit challenging. Considering the fact that there are many languages in Nigeria. I mentioned the other time that Nigeria has, well, it's been attested that we have between 250 and 550 languages. That's mammoth, it's big. But it does not still mean we cannot do anything. The idea is to promote the languages within their own area. If you have an ethnic group or some ethnic groups in a particular state, we could have a policy that would affect each of these ethnic groups, even in their various settings. So I don't think it's going to be very difficult. Some countries have language policies that have helped them to preserve their languages. I'll give the example of France. They have their language policy that the French Academy protects the French language. Of course, the main target is against English. And so when English words start to come into French, they have their way of stopping it by saying these particular things are not allowed. So I think it's time for Nigeria. It might not be like we're stopping English from functioning as it is, because the problem, I said it once, we have no national language. And as long as there's no national language, there's going to be a big problem determining which language to use. Even if we say today there's going to be a national language, the question is which language will be the national language. You said it earlier on that we have too many languages. Let me say we have many languages because it's the beauty. It's actually a beauty to have so many languages because it has its own implication too. It's not always a factor of disunity. Sometimes so many languages would make a beautiful setting like Nigeria. But I think what we should have in the language policy is what would promote each of these languages where they belong. And I think those are part of the things we've been seeing. If a language, I'll take the example of Yoruba. If Yoruba is a language in this part of Nigeria, and if we make Yoruba, if we make it interesting for the children, if we don't give the children the impression that Yoruba is not a good language, if government makes the policy that in schools, Yoruba should be used more than it is being used now. We know that it's supposed to be used in the lower arm of the primary, but if you go to most of these private schools, English is used even at the kindergarten level. So even the little we have on ground is not being well implemented. And so I think is another factor. So if government will make policies, there should be there should be that kind of policy that will give more roles to our local languages. If we do this, I think we will have something better than what we have on ground.
All right. Thank you so much, Professor Adenike Akinji. Because many Nigerians will not know that we've lost language like Gamo language, Pati language, Kubi, Mawa, Ayokowa, and there are many of them that are already gone. So at this point, we'd like to thank you immensely for sharing your thoughts and, of course, bringing your wealth of knowledge into play here. Professor Adenike Akinji is a professor of English and Linguistics, University of Ibadan. Thank you very much indeed. All right, host state begins countdown to Edo 2020 National Sports Festival with a roadshow in Benin City. Olumide Eguntola has this and more on Sports Update.
The roadshow to create awareness for the games took all the stakeholders around some major streets in Benin City, the capital of Edo State. The governor of the state, Godwin Obaseki, among other stakeholders, assured Nigerians of a world-class sport festival.
A festival to unite Nigeria and a festival that will take Nigeria to the next level.
In grassroots football, Kwara State has emerged the national champion of the 37th edition of Yusufon Ramat International Cup in Kano. The team beat its counterparts from Bauchi via Longo in the final match. Rivers State also won the losers match at the expense of Kogi State with the same goal margin.
Make them relevant in the society by promoting them.
In a related development, the process of discovering another set of Olympic gold medalists and world champions is underway as the Nigerian Police Force is set for its 12th biannual games slated for the 29th of February in Awka, Anambra State. Athletes across the country will compete in 31 sports during the games meant to keep men and officers of the force fit for their professional duties.
This game and so many other games that will be coming up will provide us that nursery for identifying, grooming, and then throwing up to the nation our future Olympic champions.
In golf, Santosh Verma and Chanta Bude have emerged champions of the lady captain Lola Ajibola of the Ikoyi Golf Club one-day tournament. The duo outclassed other contenders at the event, meant to celebrate lady captain Lola Ajibola for her numerous contributions to the growth of golf in Nigeria and successful completion of her tenure.
I was able to bring the ladies together, both old and young, and we have a lot of activities whereby so many ladies participated.
Members described lady captain Lola Ajibola